Contracts establish the terms of a project, including its scope of work and expected deliverables. This video will walk through Navy contracts funded under Phase 2 of the SBIR and SCTR program. Only those small businesses that receive a Phase 1 award have the added opportunity to compete for Phase 2 by submitting an initial proposal alongside their final report. After a formal evaluation of all initial proposals, one small business is selected to move to Phase 2. Small businesses may also receive a Phase 2 award if they have a related and past Phase 1 or 2 award by any other participating agency. This is known as a cross-agency or reach-back Phase 2 award and allows the government to capitalize on existing work. A request for proposal is formally submitted to the small business, and an evaluation is conducted on their submitted proposal. Regardless of the path, each Phase 2 allows a small business to take their prior work and create a prototype that can transition to the target program of record. In the Navy, Phase 2 awards are in the form of contracts signed by an official government contracting officer and the small business that receives the funding. They are backed by the Federal Acquisition Regulation, or FAR, which provide a standard set of rules and regulations. Contracts will include clauses from the FAR by reference. Phase 2 contracts under our command are composed of one base and one or more option periods that may vary in duration. If a Phase 2 award is made to a small business, the base period is funded first, and the option periods may be exercised at the government's discretion. It is important to understand all the parties that are involved in a contract. On the government side, the primary and alternate government technical points of contact, or TPOCs, oversee the technical performance of a contract. The contracting specialist and officer are the ones that negotiate and award the contract to the small business, while serving as the only authority to make changes to the contract. On the small business side, the principal investigator, or PI, is the lead project manager and performs the majority of the work. The business point of contact is the official that negotiates with the government contracting specialist and officer and signs the award on behalf of the small business. CLINs, or contract line item numbers, are a way to break down a contract into more manageable chunks. Each of these elements is associated with a cost and can either represent a deliverable or a period of time for which tasks are performed in. Small businesses will use these CLINs when submitting an invoice, and contracting officers will use them when making changes to a contract. For Phase 2 contracts, each of the periods, base and options, correspond to 2 CLINs. Hence, for a Phase 2 with 1 base and 2 option periods, there will be a total of 6 CLINs, 2 for the base and 2 for each option period. Here are some tips if you are a small business that has been awarded a contract. First, contact your contracting officer if you have any questions related to the contract. Second, keep in mind that the contracting officer is the only authority to make changes to a contract. If a TPOC or any other government personnel asks you to do something on the contract, please double check this with our office and the contracting officer. Third, be sure to keep your technical point of contact, or TPOC, updated when you've submitted an invoice on Wide Area Workflow. The system may not send a notification to the TPOC, so sending them a quick email will ensure timely review and payment of your invoice. Let's take a look at an example Phase 2 contract. On the first page, it shows some blocks of information that you can extract. Block 2 is the contract number itself. Block 3 is the effective date, or the start date, for the Phase 2 contract award here. Block 5 is the contracting agency, as well as the contract officer that is on behalf of the government that signs for the award. Block 7 is the name and the address of the small business that receives the Phase 2 award. Block 11 is the name and the contact information for the government technical point of contact. If we scroll down further, Block 15G is the total amount of the contract, and this is specifically the Phase 2 base period award amount. Blocks 19 and 20 are for the small business's business point of contact and the government contracting officer's signature block specifically and respectively. And if we scroll further, the names of the contract specialist, the government and alternate technical points of contact, and the business point of contact are listed here in this specific section on this next page. We mentioned earlier that the CLINs in a Phase 2 contract represent a time period, so there is 2 per period itself. In this particular example, there's actually 1 base and 2 option periods, so there'll be a total of 6 CLINs. Here, for CLIN item 1 and 2, you'll see the time period is noted for the base period itself. So it actually says research and development, which is the tasks that are associated with the base period. And that's actually shown a specific amount for the base period on the right-hand side. So that's CLIN item 1 and 2, which is referenced to the base period. You'll also notice that under CLIN item 2, which is still under the base period, it specifically calls out CDRLs, and it will mention that the CDRLs or the deliverables that is associated with the base period, this CLIN item number is in reference to. So for CLIN item 3 and 4, this corresponds to the first option period and shows that the CDRLs associated are B1 through 9 in this particular case. And then CLIN item 5 and 6 is the second option period. And again, all of the amounts that's associated with the CLINs or the base and the option periods are shown on the right-hand side. In section B, it covers some general information about the Phase 2 contract, specifically that this is a cost plus fixed fee contract. Section C covers some additional descriptions and specifications that's related to the SBIR program. Section D shows packaging and marking, specifically what to mark each of the deliverables by, as well as what to include in their cover page. Section E, which is the inspection and acceptance section, actually reaffirms that the government technical points of contact are the ones that receive and inspect your deliverables. We scroll down to section F, which is deliveries or performance. This is the section where it covers specific dates that's associated with the periods. So the end date of the base period, the end date of the 2 option periods in this particular example are actually shown here if I scroll a little bit further. So CLIN items 1 and 2 are the base period as a reminder. So the due dates or the date that is respectfully noted here on the right-hand side is the end date or the last day of that specific period. CLIN item 3 and 4 would be the end date that is associated with the first option period, and CLIN item 5 and 6 is the end date of the second option period. If we scroll to section G, which is the contract administration data section, this is where, if you are a technical point of contact, it's where to ensure that the DODAC that is associated with White Arrow Workflow is the correct information that you are assigned with your account. And if you are a small business, this is where you would want to make sure that when your invoice is submitted, that the DODACs that are listed in the routing table, which I will be scrolling to, is actually in the system when you submit your invoice. So right here is a routing table that shows the specific DODACs or the identifiers to use when you're submitting an invoice. And if you're a technical point of contact, it's important to reaffirm or assert that those are the correct DODACs. Specifically, the issue by DODAC, admin DODAC, and the ship to code are the most important ones to be looking out for. If you are a technical point of contact that is approving invoices, you will have your contact information listed here, which is also given to a small business should they have any questions or alert the technical point of contact when an invoice is submitted. If there's any questions about the portal or you need some assistance with it, whether you're a TPOC or a small business, the White Arrow Workflow system does have a help desk, and their contact information is also listed here in this contract. Section H covers special contract requirements. And this is where specific clauses extracted from the FAR are used to provide information that's specific to the SBIR program. So you'll notice that under section H.1, it reaffirms that the contracting officer is the only person that's authorized to approve changes related to this contract. It also reasserts that the technical point of contact does not have the authority to make any changes or provide any actions that's outside of this contract specifically. If there's any changes related to the principal investigator, if there's a change in employment or a turnover, it shows specific details to that. And then section H.9 is important to understand that the government does have the discretion to exercise any of the options. So in this particular case, CLIN items 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, which correspond to the option periods, that is the government's discretion whether or not to exercise them. Section I covers contract clauses, and we mentioned that Phase 2 contracts abide by the FAR. And so the clauses are noted here by reference. You can actually publicly search for the clauses on the left-hand side. They are publicly available to find out what is the rules or the regulations that's associated with that clause. You'll see a number of them that are included here by reference, but it's important to review those contract clauses because they are included here by reference and should be abided by if you are a small business. We hope that you found this video helpful. This is just a quick and short summary, so be sure to read the contract in its entirety. If you have any further questions, please contact our office.